hit cock 45. We have a 45 on the table. How appropriate is that? And especially a single action, the Cattleman, new Uberti. Pretty nice gun. You've seen it before. We thought since it's a snowy day and it's a snowy range, we need to do a video. We could have easily talked ourselves out of it, but it just seems like a good time to get out an old frontier type revolver, because those people were not wimps. They were not afraid of a little cold, a little snow, a little ice we're walking around on, right? Seemed like an appropriate time. This is probably the last snow we will see this year, and maybe even really cold weather. So we wanted to enjoy it thoroughly, okay? This is 45. I'm gonna cock it, and it'll come down on an empty chamber. See, okay? So we got 5 rounds. I'm gonna put it in my holster. Cross draw, pretty cool, huh? I never used a cross draw when I was doing cowboy shooting much. I did it first, and then I think I've told you that before, and then I decided I just preferred 2 of them hanging straight down and everything, because, you know, when you pull it out, you got people around and, you know, everything, other cowpokes waiting to shoot. If you're not careful, it's real easy to, I just pointed at that dude over there and that sort of thing. So I just avoided all that. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to avoid. You can just be careful and pull it out straight down, you know, tilt a little bit, turn a little bit. It's not a big deal. But I like these old, I do like a cross draw holster. It's really handy. And it was actually pretty popular from the cowboys, as I understand, okay? So, because, you know, if you're on horseback, and depending on what you got on this side of your horse, you got your rope over there and everything, you're not hooking it into your gun. It was nice to have your gun over here out of the way. I could see some advantages to that. I know when, well, speaking of that, it reminds me of when I was a marshal in Tombstone for all those years. We had snow like this almost every day. And, you know, I think that's the reason I wanted to do a video with a single action. Now, this is not a Colt. This is Uberti. Check out the first video. I'll put the link in the description. It's a nice gun. I've been very, very pleased with it. I really like it. It was a gift from a viewer, and it's a keeper. Really is. Stainless steel, and as I recall, shoots pretty well. Let's see if it still shoots. That's kind of where I was aiming. Let's try on the cowboy. Okay, a little left, but that was me. That was right, but that was me. Let's try the coffin down there. I'm gonna hold it right in the middle and see if I can get one off right in the middle. That's better. Yeah, it was a better release. See? So that's what usually is the case. It is the shooter. Yeah, that was in the middle. I was focusing more on my trigger control. Okay, so what it all comes down to is where the gun is pointed when the trigger or the hammer falls. I mean, that's when the hammer specifically hits the primer. Okay, where your sights are when that hammer hits the primer back there, generally the bullet's going to be going in that direction. Okay, let's put this brass over here. I don't have any speed loaders. What kind of cowboy am I? No cowboy hat, no speed loaders. That's okay. Like I said before, the beauty of a revolver to me is not to try to make a machine gun out of it. It's just a classic, you know, piece of history and machinery. And if you really like firearms, I don't know how you can not like these firearms. And I know, I hear from a lot of you, you're thinking about buying a single action. Well, don't hold up too long. You know, Colts are pretty expensive. You can get one of these for half that price or less than half that price, maybe a third, just depends. And well made. These new models, Uberti historically has always, I think always, that's a term you have to be careful using, isn't it? But as far back as I know, they've had a good reputation. So, and these new ones are even better. This thing, as I've said, I think in the first video, you would know, but what you're holding a Colt, a nice Colt. Colts had some sketchy quality too over the years. Let's try some of these lead hollow points. I don't think Wyatt Earp had any of those, probably. He might have. I doubt they were made by Federal, but he might have. Never know. So we got 5 in there. Cock it. Let the hammer down. Pow. Okay. Now, what are we going to shoot? Oh, before this mess of ice that we found in a bucket falls, let's go ahead and Make it fall. Yeah, that'll do the job. All right, I just wanted to do that. I spotted that as a potential target. Everything in my life, almost, is a potential target. John can tell you that. I probably took him out of the baby crib too soon because it was, you know, a nice target I wanted to put on the range. Yeah, this thing is a nice shooter, I tell you. Let's hit that propane tank. Click. I like it. I'm not going to do any speed loading like I said. These are not that hard to unload either. I know I repeat myself sometimes, but that's okay. A lot of people still haven't gotten back to the old videos. When you unloading them, they're not that hard. If you hold it right, you can just turn it. Use this finger to pull them out. You don't have to be, you know, and wrestling with it like you see so often in the movies. I should go to Hollywood and do some training. You know, I'm not the best shot in the world, but I know how to unload a single action without, you know, shaking it and twisting it and all that kind of stuff. I could be an advisor on a movie set or something. How not to look like a dork. Well, no, wait a minute, that's a stretch. I'm probably a professional at looking like a dork, but at least in terms of how you handle your single action, put him in the holster. Oh yeah. You really feel like a cowboy, I have to say. I'm not really a play actor, I guess, but it's just a neat feeling. And that's one of the beauties of these old guns. You have a muzzleloader in your hand. I don't know, it kind of takes you back to being a mountain man. If you got a Hawken, you know, or a plainsman. If you have a flintlock, you just feel like you're Daniel Boone up in Kentucky or something. And if you got an old Civil War rifle, you know, it helps you relate to those periods of history and those people, what they, in terms of firearms, you know, what they carried and what they were faced with in terms of am I yelling at you? The technology of the day, you know, and because we're all very familiar these days, right, with what a semi-automatic 9mm is like to shoot. Many of you, me, 40 or 45, and a lever gun even, and you know, some of those. So any firearm that you have is one of the I guess interesting aspects of the sport, the endeavor, the hobby, is these guns take you back into history, and that's the fun in it. That's why I hope you don't buy one of these and put a red dot on it, okay? Oh boy. Let's see. I could say it's too cold to shoot, but you know, I'm not sure it's ever too cold. Let's go for the gong. How's that for right now? I'm gonna try. All right. That felt good. Let's try a 2-liter here. All right. Oh, okay. Now I know that's not a hard shot, but I'm pleased with that because, you know, it is so easy to be off, even at that distance. You know, with well, any gun, but let's try a plate swinger there. There we go. I should get a clip. Yeah, okay. Good shooter. Feels good. I think it looks good. I'm never extremely happy with the Uberti wood. I mean, it looks fine, but I think that's even some kind of walnut, Italian walnut or something. I don't know if it's a stain they put on it. I probably should try to refinish those sometimes. All their wood seems to come out with a reddish tint that it's okay, you know, whether it's the Henry or one of the rifles, but it's okay, but it's not as pretty as our American black walnut, is it? You look at the difference between that Henry original, you know, that we showed you recently, the engraved one, that really nice high dollar one, which we'll get back out. The wood on that, the walnut's just gorgeous, and that's there's other differences, but one of the big differences between it and the Uberti guns. They're well made too, but man, the wood's just not the same. I mean, I'm a snob. I'm a black walnut snob, I guess. Oh yeah, let's shoot some more of this lead. Okay, this seems appropriate to be slinging. I didn't bring any of my hand loads out. I usually shoot a few of my hand loads whenever I'm shooting a 45 Colt. Just didn't bring any out today. These are all factory loads. We'll let the federal Pay the bill on the ammo today. How's that? Oh, sweet. Well, let's try a little left-handed just for kicks. Something to do. Give me the excuse to miss. Mr. Cowboy needs another one. Yeah. Mr. Coffin. Yeah. Cool. Should be empty. Sweet. And again, I load 5. This is covered. Lots of videos. It's the safe way to do it. There are all kinds of things. It's not just in case you drop the gun. It's clear. If you have that primer, that firing pin against a primer there, and then and it's not going to fire necessarily just because it's against it, but if you drop it, and we did a video on that where we hit that with a stick or something and bam, it fired. And of course if you drop it, that's happened. I think that's one of the main reasons Ruger has the instruction manual, safety manual on their barrels, because someone did that with a Ruger and sued and all that. Don't know the whole story. Then also, as I understand, don't know if it's true, I read somewhere, someone seemed to know what they were talking about it, when I've never had horses, don't hate horses, just never been a horse person, but when they'd sling their saddle up onto the horse, the stirrup or something, we could catch that hammer, and there were some holes in legs as a result of that. So, five rounds is enough generally. Okay, again, unless you're in an engagement, and of course, I hope I'm always going to be in an engagement when I have the, the single action in hand. Right? You could do worse. It would beat a sharp stick, as I've said before, having 5 big slugs. These are lovely guns. Lovely guns. Click. Lots of fun. And let me show you the safety. I'll give you another tidbit I probably did not in the first video. I don't think. I knew it at the time. This, well, it's unloaded first. Again, if you get a hold of it right, you can just knock those out into your hand or on the ground, so you're not struggling with it. It's not that hard. Okay, it's empty. One difference between this and a Colt is it has this longer base pin. So you put it on half cock to get that out, and you push the button, and it comes out. So in and out, so you get the cylinder out. And I'll go ahead, maybe show you that if we did that in the last one or not. And so the base pin is back through there, and you can see. You see that hole holds it all in there, good and solid. And if you push it all the way in, now that look up here looks like a Colt. That's what a Colt base pin protrudes about that much. But when you do this one like that, it protrudes back there, and it blocks the hammer from falling all the way. See, so it won't go all the way forward. So it has that added safety, all right. Now, if you don't want that, and I typically don't, I don't want. I like the original operation. So there's another notch. First notch is right there, so it protrudes more, and it doesn't protrude back here. Okay, folks in Kentucky, protrude means kind of stick out. All right, so when you have it right there, you've got kind of the original way they operate, except for the longer end on it. So not a big deal. And the thing I was going to tell you, I thought I have some extra base pins from my Colts. I've been messing with Colt single actions a long time, and I thought I'll just put a Colt base pin in there and I'll get rid of that silliness. But none of them fit. They're all a little too big. Someone told me you could do that, but none that I have, and I have several. Okay, so better check it out if you think. That's the thing about firearms. That's the beauty of forums and YouTube and everything else. Whoops, need to half cock it. You find out little things like that, and some of it's not true, and some of it is, and then you can put your 2 cents worth in there and correct it, or you can continue the myth and make it worse. Actually, it may be that some of the Colt base pins do fit, but just the ones I have don't for some reason. No. The other thing you gotta be careful of, if you're going into Dodge City on a Friday night and you loaded up your Peacemaker, and it's a Uberti or one of these modern ones with that type of base pin, and you pushed it in there and didn't realize you had done that, and you holster your gun, it's all loaded, and you pull it out and you're about to be killed, for lack of shooting back, and click, you know, your hammer doesn't hit the firing pin or the primer on your ammo because you got that pushed in too far. So you got to watch that. If you're going to carry one of these for defense, be aware of that. Let's shoot just a couple more times. It's not that I'm too cold, it's just that I know you've got places to be. This, even looking at this snow is probably causing you to get the chills, right? Big old 45 Colt. Longer than a 45 ACP. Shorter than a 45-70. Lots of 45s out there, but they're different, right? All right, this coffin has not been hit. So let's take care of that. Oh, I love it. I love it. Quick. Oh, these are wonderful. And this long barrel, 7.5 inch, is the original configuration, and it's what the military adopted. Colt single action Army. They actually, this was the official military pistol. So, you know, it's an evil military pistol, right? And 7.5 inch barrel. And then shortly after that, they offered them in different lengths, you know, the 5.5, 4 3/4. There were some, even, I think, some sheriff's models, people cut them down. And I'm sure even back in the 1880s, there were people, there were gunsmiths back then, you know, they didn't have their sledgehammer and Dremel tool, but they were still gunsmiths, and they probably did all sorts of things too that we don't know all that much about even. You know, maybe a 2-inch barrel or a 1-inch barrel on some of them, who knows. Although they should have lasted, and there should be some evidence of some of that. But those were the three primary lengths: 7.5, 7.5, 5.5, and then 4 3/4. You're confusing me, okay? So, and I tell you, I like all three lengths. I think we did a video on that, kind of addressed those lengths and talked about them. I can't decide which is my favorite. I like that short 4 3/4. 5.5 is like perfect. But then again, these things have a nice feel to them, and they're really easier to hit with, I think, with a 7.5 inch barrel. So yeah, boy, I tell you, I don't know what to tell you if you're looking for one of these, which barrel length to get. They're all great. If you don't shoot a lot, you might struggle a little more with that 4 3/4 in terms of hitting what you want to hit. But the 5.5 and this one are a little bit easier to hit with, I think. They're all nice, and boy, what a piece of history. And I'm gonna, if you like westerns and you like to study the Old West at all, I don't know how you can not like one of these firearms. And Uberti makes a nice one. It's not all that expensive, I think. See what I said in the first video, what I lied about there probably. I think it was around 600 maybe, the MSRP on these, something in that ballpark. And usually there's lots of these in gun shops. In a good gun shop, a well-stocked gun shop, you'll find some of these Uberti and different brand names, but Colt single actions, you sure will. Some of the conversion models and everything else. So I'm glad you could stop by and enjoy the cold weather and the snow. It's been a lot of fun. Life is good.